It's finally here! Who's ready to talk about the Age of Imprisonment trailer? Yeah, I know I'm a few days late to the party here, but let's be honest. The real party starts when you show up fashionably late. In case you've been living under a rock for the past few days, Nintendo showed off a bunch of games that would be coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. One of these was, to my utter amazement, a new Hyrule Warriors game, Age of Imprisonment. Similar to its predecessor, Age of Calamity, Age of Imprisonment will follow the memories shown in Tears of the Kingdom, giving players an entirely new look at Zelda's time in the past. And if you can't already tell from the way I'm speaking, I am beyond excited for this. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at what we know about Age of Imprisonment and make some guesses as to what we'll see. And if you aren't already, then why not subscribe? We're only 400 away from the big 5,000 milestone, and with your help, we can get there in no time. Now with that out of the way, let's begin. So what do we know for certain about Age of Imprisonment? Well, it's canon! No, I'm not joking. Nintendo shared a few press statements about the game to various websites, like this one that was featured on Nintendo Life. Fans of the Legend of Zelda series and players of both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom can experience the thrill of battle in this canonical tale featuring Princess Zelda, King Rauru, and other familiar characters. Fight for Hyrule's future when Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment comes to Nintendo Switch 2 this winter. Unlike Age of Calamity, which was marketed as a prequel to Breath of the Wild, Nintendo confirmed this from the get-go that Age of Imprisonment is canon to the events of Tears of the Kingdom. This is a really good move for several reasons. For one, the biggest complaint about Age of Calamity was how it was marketed as being a prequel to Breath of the Wild, only for it to end up taking place in an alternate timeline. Now, I understand why they did this, as it would be kind of hard to say that the player won by showing Link, the champions, and all of Hyrule falling to the hordes of Calamity Ganon. But they should have just called it a what-if scenario, or kept the ending that we got as a secret ending. But at the same time, they showed us that Link actually does eat rocks, and I think that automatically redeems them. Since Age of Imprisonment is confirmed to be canon, we can largely assume that the plot will follow the events of the memories, starting with Zelda arriving in the past and ending with her becoming the Light Dragon, though the game itself will likely end with the final boss being Demon King Ganondorf. Obviously though, there will be multiple story elements that will be added in as a way to not only make the story flow smoother, but also to allow the writers to flesh out most of its characters. Speaking of characters, who can we expect to play as? From the trailer, we can say for certain that Zelda, Rauru, and Miniru will be playable, as we see them being played. Sonia, Ganondorf, and the Ancient Sages are all present in the trailer, but we can't say for certain if they'll be playable. I feel like there's at least a 90% chance that the Sages will be playable, since they're fairly important to the plot, and if they are, it's more than likely that we may finally get canon names for them. I'm still betting on them sharing names with the Divine Beasts, by the way. I'm at least 75% certain that Ganondorf will be playable, likely either having his own story missions akin to the original Hyrule Warriors, or being a secret character that's unlocked in the post-game, similar to Calamity Ganon in Age of Calamity. Sonia, however, is a bit tricky. While I can certainly see her being a playable character, she'll likely only be playable until a certain point in the story. You all know the one. Besides these characters, there's a good chance that we'll see some new characters that weren't present in Tears of the Kingdom as a way to fill out some of the roster. One character, or rather two characters, that I think should definitely at least make an appearance are Kotake and Koume, Ganondorf's surrogate mothers. Back when Tears of the Kingdom first came out, fans noticed in the memory, A Show of Fealty, that the two women kneeling behind Ganondorf had some interesting details. Not only did they appear to have the same skin tone as Ganondorf, but the fabric on their shoulders bore a striking resemblance to the headbands that Kotake and Koume wore in Ocarina of Time. To my knowledge, it's all but confirmed that these two women are Tears of the Kingdom's versions of Kotake and Koume, also known as Twin Rova. And for some unknown reason, the developers just never used Twin Rova as a boss. Age of Imprisonment, however, has the chance to fix that. If they're not a playable character that functions similar to how Robbie and Pura did in Age of Calamity, then at the very least, they should be a boss fight. I also think that there will be at least one or two joke characters, for lack of a better word. The characters that we would never think of being playable in a hack-and-slash game like Hyrule Warriors. The best examples of this are Agatha in the original Hyrule Warriors, and the battle-tested Guardian in Age of Calamity's Pulse of the Ancients DLC. In Age of Imprisonment, this could be something like a Zonai construct, be it a steward, a soldier, or even a flux construct if we really want to get crazy. Combat-wise, I think it's rather safe to assume that characters with a secret stone will largely have their moveset revolve around the powers it gives them. Zelda, for example, attacks a Lynel with what appears to be a sword made out of light energy, before then using Recall to have the sword retrace its path back to her hand. Rauru, meanwhile, seems to primarily utilize a spear made out of light energy, as we can see a trail of energy that looks remarkably similar to the light Zelda uses with her attacks. And at one point, we can see Minoru transferring her soul into her construct to deal a heavy attack to the Frox. From this, we can assume that the Ancient Sages, if playable, will function similarly. I can personally see them playing very similarly to how their respective descendants and Revali played in Age of Calamity. And if that's the case, then I know for a fact that I am going to love being an absolute monster while playing as the Rito Sage. In terms of the world, I hope that we'll get some answers regarding a few of the mysteries that Tears of the Kingdom presented and left unsolved. Based on this shot of Minoru fighting a Frox, we can assume that we'll likely travel to the depths at some point in the game's story. Perhaps we'd finally get some answers, or at least some information, on the giant Bargainer statue found underneath the Great Plateau, or even those statues that don't resemble any known race in Hyrule. We also get a look at the Zonai Castle, a structure that we've seen very little of. Its ruins don't exist within present-day Hyrule, but we know for a fact that it was located on the Great Plateau from this shot in the Age of Imprisonment trailer, where we can see Mount Hylia in the background. While we also see the interior of it in a few memories, this is the first time we've seen the full exterior to my knowledge. While it was slightly visible in the memory Tears of the Dragon, this was the only glimpse we actually got of it throughout the entire game. I hope that we'll get to see a bit more of the castle's interior other than a small handful of rooms like we saw in Tears of the Kingdom. And in his own video, Nehru actually proposed the idea that the Zonai Castle could serve as some sort of hub between levels, like how there was a camp to serve as a hub world in Fire Emblem's Three Hopes. Other than that, I don't think there's a lot much else to really talk about right now. But what do you guys think? Let me know what some of your expectations are for the Age of Imprisonment down in the comments below. And when the game comes out, maybe I'll do a video going over them all to see what we got right and what we got wrong. Until then, I'm Linked Wolf, and I'll see you all next time.